How
All
we
right.
doing?
How's it going, Eli?
I'm living the dream. How about you?
Doing well. I just got home from a yoga class, but this is the EricSwannRacing.com podcast. I believe it's in the high 70s, maybe number 80. I lost track of the numbers. I still got a few in the queue. I got to edit and publish. But welcome. Thanks for coming on here, Eli Block. And just want to get your story. You know, it's funny. I went down to Daytona for being a race official track marshal for this past ARMA weekend. And I was just telling some of the other workers about who I've talked to recently, and I said, "Oh, who do you think I should talk to next?" And they said your name, and I'm like, "Guess what? He's already on the schedule. I'm talking to him Saturday."
Definitely that was Lisa and Ken.
It
100%
was.
that was Lisa and Ken. Yep, those guys are the B crew up from New Hampshire, where my home track is up at Loudon. So those guys are the best.
Angry Bee Patrol, they call themselves, right?
Yep.
Because they all sound like buzzing bees going around the racetrack, and we're just patrolling them all.
Oh yeah.
But you've been racing for many years, professional motorcycle racer, and you said you're like in New Hampshire area.
Yeah, so I'm from Connecticut. Home track is Loudon, New Hampshire. So I've been doing this is going on to my fourth year right now. So a little bit of a late start, but I raced go-karts for 7 years. Then my dad's been doing this for a long time, so he got me into it 4 years ago, and something clicked, and I just went with it.
Heck yeah! Well, I got to pick your brain on the go-karting stuff because I know a lot about the motorcycle side of it, but I'm just kind of getting into the go-kart side. I've raced at the local tracks, you know, around your house. But there's one 2 miles from my house that actually has timing and scoring, so it feels like it's a little bit above the standard like putt-putt and go-kart place, you know.
Mm. Yeah, so that's how I started with like some of the local stuff, and over time I got better, and I got offered by some of the national karting teams to be on their teams going to the national events, and I tested for one of the teams, and I just didn't like it was just too much pressure. Didn't enjoy it. It was not what I thought, and at that moment I knew I had to find something else. And that's when my dad came up to me and said, "Hey, you got to try this," because I worked for the Penguin Road Racing School up in New Hampshire, and I was just doing like I was working the gate for them. And like one weekend, I was just super bored, and my dad's like, "Dude, we have to just get you on the track if you're this bored." And that next weekend, I went out there and loved it.
Yeah, never look back.
Yeah, never looked back from that moment.
And now you've been getting into road racing. You said for the last couple of years, 4 years or so, and
Yep.
junior cup rider.
Yep.
So how's that been treating you lately?
So from starting off on a motard supermoto, up at road racing tracks, I've never like people look at my Instagram and they'll see me on a supermoto bike, and I actually don't do supermoto. I ride them at road racing tracks. So from going from that and I started riding a 400, like a street bike, 2 years ago. I started at the start of the 2020 season, or end of 2019, start of 20, and it took me. I kind of prematurely went into Junior Cup, kind of thinking that I was gonna do okay. It's not like I was horrible, but obviously my expectations were a little bit high. Got humbled, but definitely started learning as the year went on, and this year definitely had a good few performances. Got a top five at Jersey, and it's different. It's nice being able to race with people competitively on the same exact bike instead of having to on my 450 up at Loudon have to race the 600 classes to be just somewhat competitive.
Yeah, and so you're doing like super motard, not dirt, just pavement.
Yep, just pavement.
Um, you know, a buddy of mine, Jeff O'Berry, he's doing the Supermoto East Coast, and they
Mhm.
probably go all around to that area near you too.
Yep, all
Um,
around us.
that stuff is kind of getting bigger nowadays. It didn't used to be so big. Now they have like coverage and they have film and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah, the reassert pretty much just supermoto's being born again. I mean, back when pro supercross racers like Chad Reed, Travis Pastrana, all these guys were getting into it and doing it for fun, that's kind of when it was at its peak, and it kind of faded off. I mean, the whole entire racing just faded off a little bit, in my opinion, for motorcycle racing, and then it just resurgence. I don't know the word for that one, but
Resurgence, yeah, you got it.
yeah, resurgence. There we go. Yeah, so I think it started coming back over the last few years. It's starting to get bigger. There's a few big sponsors that are coming into our series and recognizing that racing still is a thing. It's starting to, there's still a fan base for it.
Yeah. And do you think there will be scooter racing like there is in other countries like Taiwan, China? There's tons of scooter racing going on, it seems like. Yeah, I think that's kind of a low budget way to get people into it. Maybe kids or adults.
Yeah, I mean, there's up in our area we have mini GP. I know down in Florida they have South Florida mini GP also, and that's how we've kind of been getting kids into it lately. I've been coaching for mini GP for the last year and a half, 2 years. And it's a great program, amazing coaches, amazing 3 day camps are where you want to go start at. It's you get awesome drills, awesome coaching, a lot of seat time, and it's pretty affordable for that. I mean, scooter racing, I don't know a lot about it. I've had to race a lot of the scooter racers when they come over to from the Dominican to America when we're racing 150Rs during
Yeah.
the SMEC weekends. So it's asphalt only. And I mean, those guys are, it's a whole different riding style. So you don't really, if you're trying to become a road racer, scooter racing probably isn't the greatest way to start. But, you know, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, I've never raced a scooter, but I started on a scooter. My dad had a 250. It was a Kymco
Yep.
People 250.
Mhm.
So not a race bike by any means, but it was highway legal. You know, it went like 87 miles an hour, pretty fast for a scooter.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, those are super easy for people to learn because there's no shifting. It's just the handbrake and front and rear brake. And no clutch, just a CVT. But now, you know, being on a motorcycle for so many years, shifting just becomes a natural thing. People get scared about, oh, I don't know how to shift. Well, it's not that difficult once you learn how, and it's actually helpful for like for using engine braking into the corners or just having a range of your speed for each corner. Like I know every single gear for every single corner on a track, I know by gear, right? It's
Yep.
usually a set number. It doesn't change too often unless you get faster. Um, so that's an easy way to make sure you're going to make the corner. Just stay in the right gear.
Exactly.
But electric bikes don't have gears. It's back to like the CVT type of feel.
Yeah, that and the two strokes. I was just talking to someone about this, and they want me to ride the TZ 250 up at Loudon because um, I I think if I got used to it, I think I could be battling for wins and maybe even winning the 600 classes up there on this. And I know it's possible because Jeff Wood used to do it, and I mean, I bet I could do it. It just take time to learn that there's no engine braking. It's just
Yeah.
once you let go and get on the brakes, it's just you're on the clutch pretty much. There's no engine braking at all.
Yeah. Just a very different feel. You got to just drive it differently or ride it differently. Um,
Yep.
I got one of those race simulators in my living room for playing the car games. Mostly the Assetto Corsa Competizione I've been playing. It's the new esports game that they're using for like GT3, GT4. And it's amazing going from car to car, like the Lexus to the Mercedes, how much different the cars actually handle. And like I'm always spinning out the Mercedes on downshifting because it's just so unstable. So you have to wait a long time to get your downshift in. So you're not really getting the engine braking, but the car doesn't spin out. So it's like you just got to drive everything a little bit differently to get the most out of it.
Yeah, I definitely see that in iRacing. I play a ton of iRacing, and it's just like as you were saying, like for me, it's the difference between the Audi and the Mercedes. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. Um, but everything has their own characteristics. The bikes do. You know, I don't have the iRacing yet, but that's on my list as like the #1 game to get because you can buy whatever track you want. Like you're probably practicing the tracks you go to, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like between Ride 4 and whatever game there is, no matter if there's a track that I'm going to be racing and no matter what game it's on, I'll buy that game
Yeah,
because it's going to save me. I mean, it's not the same exact feeling, but you get a feel for it. I mean, especially with iRacing for Loudon, there's like there's a bump and turn 10. You'll hit it, but you'll know when you're coming into it. It's the same exact feeling. It's the same exact line. It's literally the same exact view. It's
yeah.
like you're not surprised when you see it.
And that's such valuable information to have, just already have ingrained in your brain. I mean, you see these world champions just picking up a track and learn it in a half a second, but there's got to be some strategy behind them too. They got to be doing some sort of training.
From what I've heard, Ben Spies during his first year over World Superbike, or I think it was MotoGP, when he was getting all these poles, being at these tracks for the first time, he would play these tracks on video games. He
Yeah.
would learn this track by going and spinning laps on a video game, and then with his talent and everything that he knows, goes out there and sets poles.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. It's like, back then, obviously, it wasn't as realistic, but if people do, with now how realistic everything is, there's no excuse. There's just like, you should know the track before you get there, unless there's no way of seeing it.
Yeah, or you can watch video on YouTube, or even forums talk about different tracks, like Wear a Message Board, or Sport Bike Track Time has a good message board, good forum. So where can people find you online? Are you out there making videos? Are you on Instagram?
So Instagram, it's Eli Block _. That's just where I mainly post all my stuff. I've done a few things on Facebook where it's like weird. They didn't accept my last name on Facebook, so I had to go Eli Colby, which is my middle name. And yeah, I mean, I've made a few videos. So I work for a few track days. I work for Penguin Road Racing School, Evolve GT track days. I'll be helping with Tony's track days this year, throughout the year. And I'll do MotoGP stuff when I get a chance. It's just whatever I can do to help. I mean, I have a kid that lives 20 minutes from my house that's a MotoGP racer, and I'll drive down to his house, pick him up like 2 times a week during the summer, and we'll just go out to a parking lot and do cone drills.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do. And it's awesome because when I'm helping him, I'm also helping myself, because I can go out there and I'm refreshing my skills. I'll go out there, I'll demonstrate stuff, and then it turns out where he's doing 20 minutes on the bike, I'm doing 20 minutes on the bike. We're just going back and forth doing drills.
Yeah, and that's such a good workout. Being on the bike and getting those muscles worked out is usually better than being in the gym and just working out. I mean, you need both of it, right? But the on the bike fitness is probably more important.
Oh yeah, gym. The gym's a foreign word to me. Lately I've been doing the gym stuff. I mean, I just came back from an injury, so about 2 months ago I had a pretty big crash doing moto. Just hurt my shoulder again. So I've been having bad luck with my shoulder and wrist and ankle over the last few years, but hopefully this year will be good. So I just got back. I'm starting to strengthen myself up. I'm an assistant track and field coach at my old high school.
Okay.
And on top of all my other jobs, but that's been helping me get back into the gym. So these kids have been working out every single day, and I don't want to be down there just watching them. I have to get out there and start doing benching, squats, deadlifts, all this other stuff, getting myself back in somewhat shape.
Yeah, and you got to show them how to do it too. So you got to lead the way, right?
Yeah. Well, these kids are showing me. These kids are out squatting me, out benching me every single day.
Yeah.
These kids are insane.
I bet they're putting up a lot of weight.
Yeah, the only thing I can do is a calf press more than them. I can calf press 360, but that's about it. But these kids are out benching 2, 3s. We got a kid that just graduated last year that was squatting 600.
Oh wow.
So it's funny. We have a bar downstairs. If you walk in, and we have the freshmen that walk in every year, and we'll show them our gym, and then they'll see this one squat rack, and there's a bar that's bent in half. And we're like, yep, that's what we want you to end the school or your 4 years here with.
That'd be pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me about your plans for this coming season for racing. What do you got going on? You're doing a full season of the Junior Cup again?
So I wish. So I've been doing select rounds every year, and coming into this year, I've just turned 19 in September and going on to 20 this year. So my dad decided it was kind of best if I started learning how to do everything by myself. So it's I'm financially supporting myself. So they're still helping me a little bit. They helped me a lot during the winter, getting my bikes prepared. They're still having me pay for some things. And once we hit race season, everything that is not really covered by sponsorship by me is all on me. Traveling by myself, racing all by myself. I sold both of my 400s. So right now I just have my supermoto and I have my dirt bike, my 250, and I'm just gonna be kind of floating around. I'm gonna do a full Loudon series, as many woods racing and moto races I can do because I love doing that. Um, I have talked to a few Moto America teams about just fill-in rides, if any, just keeping my name out there, making sure that if anything does happen, then I'm always there. So maybe I don't hope that on anyone that they get hurt and I have to come fill in, but if anything does happen, I would be so grateful just to be out there. I mean,
Yeah.
Michael Hill has been helping me a ton over the off season, kind of getting myself set, getting my name out there, keeping myself relevant, and yeah, it's trying to get myself set for 2022. I've been doing a lot of ice riding lately. I'm going out maybe later today, even tomorrow. There's a pond like 30 minutes from my house that we just have a whole bunch of road racers from my area come out and we just spin laps and try not battling because if we battle, we know someone's gonna get hurt. But
Right.
just out there trying to do motos and getting myself back on a bike.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool to have a second set of tires that you can put like a million screws through that gives you all that grip.
Oh yeah, I mean for this year, I didn't even bother with it. I have a guy, Casey Constant from up in New Hampshire. He's the tire guy up in our area, and he has a guy go up to wherever pick up tires. And I got a set of Canadians for this year that are just amazing. And yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I'm kind of lazy, and so I kind of have like four different sets of rims. So I have one with my moto tires on it, one with my ice tires, because those things once you put them on, they ain't coming off.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
only time they're coming off is when you're just throwing them away. So I have those, and I have my stud tires for woods riding in the winter. So kind of it's awesome having the accessibility to, oh man, what do I want to do this weekend? Oh, I can go travel down, go ride with Gus Rodeo down in New Jersey, do some
Yeah.
moto, or if I'm just want to go ride in the woods, if it's ice, I can just throw my studs on. It's awesome having those those, just that option where I can choose and pick whatever I want to do depending on the day.
Yeah, I only had one other rear rim at one point. So I was always using like, I always had to change your tires every time you want a new tire on. You don't have any secondary. It'd be great to have multiple sets so you can just swap them on, even if you're changing the same compound.
And you're from Michigan, I'm guessing,
Yep,
correct?
I'm in Michigan, just north of Detroit, Sterling Heights.
So those, I've heard that's huge up in your guys' area. They have a lot of professional ice racing. Those guys are insane up there.
Yeah, I think it's Ben Lowe. He's a flat track guy, AFT, and he's not too far from me. I think he does that quite a bit.
Yeah,
So yeah,
a lot of the flat track guys do it.
you got to really bundle up for that. I haven't been out to one yet, but normally it's right now it's like 12 degrees outside, and when you're going
Wow.
60 miles an hour, it's going to be like negative 30.
Yeah, it's I mean, oh, it just changed to 10 degrees here. So it's just 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm used to it kind of now. It's funny. I'll talk to my friends that are out down south and they're like, "Oh, it's freezing here. It's 50 degrees." And I walk outside and I'm in a t-shirt. It's 20 degrees out. It's beautiful out.
Yeah.
But when I'm ice riding, I'll have like my under layer on. I'll have moto pants and I'll have like an underlayer sweatshirt and jacket. And that's about it. It's not too bundle up because I want to keep my mobility, especially because I have limited right now. So I kind of can't sacrifice everything. So maybe once I get a little more mobility back, I'll put on one more layer, keep myself warm.
Is it
But as
you
long
kind of warm up as you go so you don't need too much?
Yeah, I couldn't last weekend when I was riding, I couldn't even feel my toes, and I was trying to figure out why I couldn't, and then I rode for like 30 minutes. I was like, "Oh, I can feel myself now."
Yeah.
It's funny, you warm up as you go, which is funny. It should be the opposite. You're going 60, 70 miles per hour in freezing wind, and you're like, "Oh, I should be frozen right now." But now I'm
As
just
long
keep
as
warming
all
up.
your as long as all your skin's covered, I guess it'd be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, and it's just you out there with your buddies. Do you got to measure like how deep it is before you go on the top?
Yeah, so I'm kind of newer to it. Um, I'm not, it's, I go okay on the ice. I mean, I've only done it about 3, 4 times now, but to compare to some other people who are pretty good, but I'm newer to it. So Casey, like I'll have Casey go out there. They have he's been doing this for years on years on years. Just going out there, he's got his all equipment, drilling into the ponds, making sure it's deep enough. I kind of just do the good old, oh, if they rode like 2 days ago, I think I should be fine. It didn't really get that warm, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping for tomorrow. I think it'll be good. I mean, if I see people with cars on the ice, I think I could ride.
Yeah, pretty much. There was a time went up to my aunt's cottage area, and they live on a lake, and we brought our ice skates. You know, played pond hockey on the ice. That's a lot of fun. Skate around the entire lake. Like you don't realize there's like snow drifts, and the ice is not all even the whole way. Even though it's like you'd think it'd freeze even, but it doesn't.
Yeah, you can go be in one spot and then 3 feet over, it's 2 inches thicker.
Yeah,
So that's crazy.
changes all the time. It's like a motocross track, right? It's always changing.
Always changing, no matter what. That's the one thing about road racing that's awesome. You go through a corner, next lap, I hope it would be the same. It's probably going to be the same unless
Right.
there's something down.
Unless there's like an animal crossing. I remember, I think it was one time I saw a turtle like at the side of the track in the grass, and then I saw him the next lap he was on the curbing. Next lap he was in the middle of the track, and the next lap he was completely gone. I was like, oh, that was there's no way he
Yeah,
made it to the end. Something hit him or something
I've
happened.
had a few run-ins with squirrels up at Loudon. I
Yeah.
had a run-in. It was funny. We had a practice day or one of our Friday practices, and I had a run-in with a squirrel in turn 7. Just I didn't want to kick it, but I kicked it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a red flag the whole entire session. Everyone's freaking out. Like, why do we have to read? Why are we red flagging this in a waste? And like, no, someone kicked a squirrel in turn 7.
It's wildlife.
Oops, didn't mean to.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they had like some sort of barrier, but how do you have to spend so much money to make a animal proof barrier? It's almost impossible.
I'd much rather have more air fence than an animal barrier.
Yeah. Because unless it's like a deer, it's not going to cause that much damage.
Yeah, those guys are. I was talking to my dad about that a few days. I think it was yesterday. We were talking about how crazy the Isle Man and Dakar Rally guys are. Like, dude, like if you hit an animal, it's like the size of a sheep, because the sheep are known to be on the track at Isle Man. You hit that going 100 miles per hour plus, you're done. There's no way you're making out of that.
You're going for a ride, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I would love to go to Isle of Man and ride it, but not racing at 100% until I could prove that I could do an entire season without crashing.
Yeah.
Right?
And yeah, it's insane. I've said that multiple times. I would love to go ride the track, but to go race it, I feel like it almost just ruin it, because it would probably be enjoyable riding it, having fun, but racing at that speed is just insane.
You just have to be so cautious and so like reserved. You might be losing out on time, but you're like you made the corner, right? So that's still fine. It's a different type of race. Or think something like Pikes Peak even.
Yeah, that's insane. That Pikes Peak is, I think I heard something about they're canceling it or something. They're trying to like stop it because how many injuries there have been lately. I think it was the Ducati rider or the Ducati test rider passed away a year or two ago doing that on the new, like, I think it was the V4S or like the new Street Fighter.
The V4R.
Yeah, they were doing the new Street Fighter that they just came out there. I think they were testing with it, and he crashed and passed away on it. And yeah, it was just crazy because you never think, even people with that much talent, like you can't think that anything will ever happen to them, but mistakes happen. You lose focus for half a second, and boom, you're down.
And there's such a difference in like oxygen level and temperature change from the bottom to the top. So like you might hit a small damp patch or something, lock up your front, and just this tiny mistake causes catastrophic error.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's just no margin for error in that kind of stuff. You have to be perfect.
I found that out this year. It's like up at Loudon. I don't know how much you know about Loudon, but over the years on the supermotos, it's like the best times on the 1000s are 110s up at Loudon. and 600s have been like the 898 quote unquote back when they're allowed. Well, now they are allowed again, but was back in the 10.9s. Supermotos were like in the 15s, set by Shane Narbonne.
Like 450s.
And yep, the 450s. So last year, there's only been 5 people to run, or 4 people last year to run 15s. I became the 5th. And then going on to this year, I broke into the 14s, and I got down to a 14 too. And I'm pushing for the 13s this year. I know I can do it, because most of the 600s now are only like 2 of them are running 12s.
Okay.
And only it's just like it's a gap from the 12s, maybe a 113 runner, 14s, 15s back. And on a bike like mine that makes maybe 60 horsepower on MR12 compared to these guys with 120, the amount of I'm pushing to a limit where there's no room for error. And we were talking about that. It was just I had one of the races, the last race of the year for the Dash for Cash, which is the big race at Loudon for every weekend. It's a 600 race that's like a $1,500 cash payout
For first place.
over the top 8, so 500
Okay.
for a winner.
Not bad.
So yeah, not too bad. So I was passing for second place, and it's just I was off my line by half a foot, and my front went. So it's just you can't. It's crazy at like how we're talking about that. You can't lose focus, and then one small mistake causes everything to go wrong.
Yeah, and you mentioned air fences earlier. I don't know if you know my history, but I in 2015 I was on a brand new bike. I got a new Triumph 675R, full race ready, and there had been a brand new tire compound out that weekend. They went from the Cup ABC compound Michelin's to a 1 compound tire that did it all instead of having 3. And so it was just new to me. And so the combination of a new tire, new bike, and I was trying to go faster, of course. I just high-sided myself, and high side wasn't so bad, but the fact that I was heading straight towards a guardrail at about 120 was not good. So broke 7 bones and all that. There was no padding. There was just like maybe a 1 or 2 inch piece of half-ass foam in front of the guardrail. That's not really a barrier of any kind. So that was a nasty one. If there was an air fence there, who knows? I could have just maybe gotten bruised and walked away. But 2 weeks in the hospital and all that stuff later kind of took me out of the sport for a few years. So I can't wait to get back into road racing, but financially at the time it took me out. So those air fences, although they are expensive, would have been way cheaper than that one medical bill for all that stuff.
Yeah, Eric Wood is a big fan of all that safety stuff. He's our safety director up at Loudon, and the runner of the Penguin Road Racing School, and he's a very strong believer in air fence. And we are covered. Let me think of. We're almost covered in most of the corners up at Loudon now in all air fence, and I've had a few good run-ins with the air fence. It's your friend at times, and it's not.
I'm sure it doesn't feel good, but it's better than hitting some stationary.
Yeah, even like during that last round at Loudon, I didn't even hit the air fence. My bike got stuck under it though, so
yeah,
that's where it's hard to get your bike out from under it.
Yeah.
But most of the times, if you crash, you ain't getting your bike up. But that's the one beautiful thing about the supermotos. You crash it, $100 of damage. I was able to pick it up and go faster by the end of the race.
Isn't that amazing?
So,
what is it about supermoto that there's no damage? Are they just built better?
They're just built different, They're just there's not many things like fairing. It could be just, I don't know, like if with my 400, if you sneezed wrong, your whole entire frame was tweaked. I mean, luckily I didn't crash it too much. I think only over my 2 years of racing, I crashed like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 5, 6 times. I mean, some weren't my fault, some were. I had my first ever Moto America weekend. My friend Gus took me out by accident.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, we were really close before that, and that kind of like that was either a make or break thing between us, and that actually brought us. We're still really close. So that tests our friendship, and that's awesome. It's funny. I mean, looking back, and it was really funny. But
So for people who don't know, like it's all out of pocket. If you crash, you got to pay for your own stuff. If you crash into somebody else, you got to pay for your own stuff. You know,
yep.
It's rare that somebody pays for your stuff unless it's like, I've never heard of that happening.
No, we have like, I mean, like, unless it's like you're borrowing someone's bike and you crash their bike, then you're paying for it, unless they're paying for it themselves. But you know, it's all on you. It's your fault. I mean,
No insurance, no insurance claim you can make.
you sign a waiver that says if you crash, it's your own fault. You can't sue someone. You can't sue nobody. It's you're doing.
And we all sign up for it and agree to it. But there is sometimes, you know, banging bars, and that's all right. But we try not to knock each other down.
Well, and it happens sometimes. I mean, not what I want to happen, but I've had a few run-ins where it's just like I've tried not being an aggressive racer. I've been known to be a little bit aggressive when my visor goes down, but I actually worked on it a lot this year. I was very nice last year. I wasn't really urgent. I wasn't willing to make a dive bomb, or like not a dive bomb, but like something where I was questionable. I wanted to be calculated, but this year I worked on it a lot where it's just, I'm going into turn one and I see a pack of 3 people in front of me, I'm going to dive bomb all 3 of them in turn 3. And if I tell myself that, it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
So I worked on that this year, and it worked out very well.
I always like the around the outside passes. Those are pretty satisfying.
Yep. I was doing that and just looking over at them when you're going there, and passing them.
Or there'd be some riders that like give you a thumbs up or wave at you as they go by. I'm like, screw you, like.
Yeah. Especially like when you're on the during those races, I'm up at Loudon. I'm like, I'll race. So on my 450, I'll race up into the 600 classes. On my 400, I'd race up into the lightweight, like 650, like the 790 classes. And it's just like, you'll pass them, you'll blow by them in a corner, and then they'll go down on straightaway, another 50 mile per hour faster, and you just, hey. It's like so much anger. So much rage fills you when someone just passes by you like you're standing still, and then you have to work even harder to get past them.
Well, it's also satisfying when they got a faster bike and you're right with them, right? You can battle with them, because it depends on what track you're at. If you're at a track with not a huge straightaway, you can battle with them. And when I was racing, I started racing stock 600. I had one bike, but I'd raced it in both 600 classes, both 750s and both 1000s. So in the 1000 class, it's difficult to compete with, 200 horsepower. You got maybe 120. That's a big difference. It's like 450 versus 600. Big difference.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I did it so I did that the first time last year during the Loudon Classic, which is I don't know if you know about it. It's the longest going road race in the country right now.
How many years? And, like 70 years?
This one's going to be the 99th, I think, this year.
99. Dang.
So I did actually, it might be the 98th this year. 98, 99. But I know I did 99 this year, because last year was 98. There we go.
Okay.
I had to look at the trophy. And so I did my first ever 600 race in the Dash for Cash, the Loudon Classic, so the 20 lapper. And I kind of talked to the Shane Narbonne, who's the 8-time winner of it now. And I talked to him. I was like, what do you think? Because he was the most motard king back then. I was like, what do you think about me racing the Dash, like, Loudon Classic on it? He's like, there's no hope. There's no hope at all. No way you're getting top 8. I came out, first time ever doing it, got 6th place. And I didn't race it the rest of the year. And then last year I made the decision to pretty much chase the championship all year in the 600 class. I missed a few rounds due to Moto America, and just we went to Jersey for one of our rounds, and there was no way I was going to be able to compete with 600s on a motard at Jersey.
Yeah.
So I my best finish this year was, I think, 4th in the Dash for Cash. But yeah, it's definitely awesome to do it because it teaches you how to kind of be at a disadvantage, teaches you how to be aggressive. Start is everything because you can out jump them, but about another 20 feet later, they're going to be blowing by you. So it teaches you how to just hold it into turn one. So it's just all about strategy.
And I bet you have to be a little defensive sometimes, like at the end of straightaways, maybe take a tighter line so they're not going up the inside of you.
At times, I mean, at Loudon. So usually my plan at Loudon is because most people, I don't really care about me telling everyone my plans about what I do at Loudon because most people have seen it by now. My goal is to usually get them by turn 9, which is really hard because there's a straightaway down to the bowl, and it's kind of hard to get a 600 because you're pretty much the same speed through 4 to 9, so you kind of have to be really close. But if I can get them by 9, I can hold them off into turn 1, and that starts the whole entire lap where I'll be able to hold them off and then pull a gap. But if I pass them a little bit later, they're going to pass me on the straightaway. So as long as I have an outside line on them going into turn 1, I should be fine. But I can't really play defense on a small bike like that.
Yeah,
If
just
I'm
be as
playing
wide as
defense,
possible.
if I play any defense, it's going to let them catch up to me and blow by me on the straightaway.
Yeah, so that's another point is if you are defensive, you're slower. If you just run your fastest line, they're going to have a hard time catching you.
Yeah. In some points, like at Moto America, if you're defensive, then it could work. I mean, you won't have to worry about them out motoring you. I mean, these guys, it's a spec class in Moto America. I mean, you kind of can play around with a couple, 2, 3 things, but nothing huge. But you can see people have dynos at their own shops. They're testing out every single day. Me, I didn't really have that. Me and my dad didn't really know much about 400s. He's a motard guy. A lot of people around the country send bikes to him because he's the motard guy. So we were just new to this. And by the end of the year, when I sold my bikes, my dad finally figured out how to make them faster. So good luck to the people that bought my bikes. You got fast bikes now.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's all a tinkering game, but it's whoever can outride him. As if you can outride that person in front of you, then you should be able to go faster than them.
Or just, outbrake them just a little bit. Make sure you make the corner, don't hit them.
Yeah. Don't ruin your drive out of the corner.
Yeah. That's all about your exits.
Mm-hmm.
But so what's on your mind? Anything new in your life going on?
I started over the last few months, I've become a very busy person. I work close to 40 plus hours a week now while going to college full time. So I work as a special ed job coach, which I've been doing special ed stuff or unified sports for the last 3-4 years now. So I started this new job in about October where I work at a transition school. So kids with disabilities come out of high school and come to our academy, and we just bring them to job sites, teach them how to live in the real world, stuff that they should be really teaching in school, but they don't.
Finances and how to cook a meal and things like that.
Yep. So we teach them all that stuff. So I do that Monday through Thursday. I work as an assistant track and field coach at my old high school that I graduated from 2 years ago. So it's definitely fills my days. Then I go to college full time, and I try riding as much as possible. But I kind of have to weigh maybe once a little bit in the summer. I have the summer off to go ride, but I still want to ride every weekend. That's the goal.
For sure. Now, you said you're not in the gym. You're not a gym rat too much, but are you training with bicycles at all? Are you cycling a lot, or are you mostly on the motorized bike?
It's just, I mean, motorcycle usually. I mean, it's funny because I have kids that are racing where I race, and their coach is telling them they have personal workouts that they do. It's like it's not like intensive, but these guys are all doing their workouts, and I just have my riding strength from riding a bike. So they'll fade off in the 19 lap race, and I'll be pushing through the whole entire time just because could be just natural strength or just I have a lot of seat time. I ride a ton. I do motocross too. That also helps me a ton. So
Yeah.
it kind of gets me a lot stronger in good shape.
So probably that seat time is better than riding a bicycle because you're actually training for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, mountain biking's awesome. Whenever I have time, or I kind of used to do it a lot, but I don't really have too much time to do that anymore. So I rather spend a weekend go riding ice than mountain biking.
Now, are you mostly going to tracks? Like obviously the ice is just a pond, but when you're going to ride your supermoto, are you going to parking lots or are you going to actual tracks or in ORV trails or?
So when I do my supermoto, I'll go to just kart tracks. I have the mini moto stuff that I'll do parking lot stuff with. For motocross, we have like a few loops around my area that we have a lot of the pro GNCC racers, the woods racers that are training at, and we have a gnarly crew that rides around here. We have like the top. We had the last 450 and the 250 champion come out of our area,
Oh yeah,
so we have a gnarly crew that trains up here.
seems like a
And
good area for riding.
a few like we have a few private training tracks up here that everyone just make and like they turn more laps and it turns into a perfect track. So we have that. I mean, for moto, I try riding tracks as much as possible. I'll go down south to like Jersey and go ride. Just try doing as much as possible.
Yeah. Are you excited for the new 600 class that's being in next generation 600 now?
Um, yes and no. I've known about it for a while. I know a lot of people that are know a lot of things about what's coming up in the future, and they told me about it going like at the start of this year, and it was definitely cool. I mean, I could see it over in Europe with Brandon racing his 675 against all the other super sport guys.
Talking to
And
Brandon Posh and
yep,
BSB.
yep. And it's cool. I mean, I'm excited to see how it turns out to be because I've been hearing a lot about this the new V2 and how nasty the thing is just stock. So I'm curious to see how it equals out to all these other bikes. But I've heard that like the 600s are allowed to do, like the Gixxers are allowed to go to the 750s or the R6. Like it'll be cool to watch Josh Heron and Jake Gagne. So Gagne on that R6 compared to that V2 when they go to Daytona in a few months now.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's a whole new class, so everybody's starting from scratch, and you never know what's going to happen. Are you allowed now to even race a stock 600, or do you have to have a built motor? I guess you probably would have a hard time qualifying if you didn't, right?
Yeah, I haven't really looked into it, but I would imagine that you're allowed to race. I mean, you wouldn't be not allowed to race it, but it would be hard to be competitive on it.
And now that Moto America's taken over the 200, that's going to change some things. You know, it's going to be a little bit higher entry fee, I think, but they're still paying out like $175,000 between 40 positions. The top 40 get paid.
Yeah, I was talking to a few people about doing it, and I was kind of offered a bike to do it, but we'll see. We'll see how everything plans out. And I might be showing up to the 200 this year, but I don't know. I'm more excited to watch the Twins Cup this year.
Twins Cup with the Suzuki V650s and all those, Aprilia's 660.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are doing it this year. I got Gus doing a few of the rounds. I got my two close, what we used to call the MT Wallet team. Me, Ben Glady, Teague Hobbs. So those two are going to be doing the Robum team, which I'm hyped to watch them race this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a really stacked class this year, I think.
And I just saw Tegan Hobbs. He was at Daytona at the ARMA event. He was just ripping. I think it was 005 at that event. his
Yeah,
number.
he was testing that new bike, and he was telling me a lot about it. So it's different for him, but I think he'll be doing amazing this year on it.
Yeah, him and Heron were just flying out there. Heron was like 30 seconds in front of most people. It was,
Mhm.
but the corner worker next to me was saying, "Why is he going so fast? He's already like 20 seconds ahead of it the entire field."
Yeah, he's got to test that new bike. It was really he's got to get as much testing done on that track because that's his first round this year.
Yep, and he was doing like 51s consistent.
Yeah, which is pretty good pace.
Very first time on a new bike, and you know, I was watching a Daytona race from years ago with like Jake Lewis and all kinds of like Jason DeSalvo and Danny Eslick, and they were doing 51s like all race. So I mean, it might have not been the fastest lap of the race, but it's consistent race pace. It looks like
Yeah, I think Brandon was dropping 49s, 40.
in
I don't know if he
qualifying
touched
for the race.
48s. No, during the race,
Okay, yeah,
he was in the consistent 50s. I mean, I could pull up the results and look at
yeah.
what he was doing, but him and Swahn were pushing a really fast pace.
Yeah, and then there's an incident with Kyle Wyman, you know, getting past the lap traffic, and who knows? You know, some people say he's playing possum to get a red flag. I don't know. You know, it's kind of like a gray area, right? Are you hurt and then run back to your pits after you know maybe he was dazed? I can't say.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but I really I I remember watching it, and it was just I think he just lost like all brain thought for a few seconds and just kind of didn't calculate it enough and just ran into the back of him. And I mean, if he was hurt, then I mean, if you really are that hurt and you have to cause a red flag, then you probably shouldn't be back on a bike. I feel
I
like,
thought that was the rule that you, if you, because I've caused a red flag before and I was not allowed to restart the race. But I don't know how it is in endurance racing if the rule is different.
I don't remember, but I feel like if you cause a red flag and if you pass all the tests and just your bike's rideable, then I feel like you're able to go. But I think you have to start from the back of the pack.
That seems fair, or maybe start from pit lane or something.
Yeah,
And Daytona's, it's a very unique track in that you exit out of the pit lane for the first lap, right? You don't normally do that. And so that actually creates an extremely dangerous situation for corner workers because they have something called cone boys who are moving those cones after the grid goes by. They run out there and replace the cones for the next, you know, for the second lap. Well, there have been times where they thought everybody was released and one guy maybe stalled or he was still in the pits and hadn't gone yet. And then they're released as the cone boys are now on the track and putting cones back. And I'm like, that's a super dangerous situation. So I don't know what the right solution is, but I don't like the cone boys.
yeah. I mean, it should be pretty. I mean, it's pretty simple. I feel like it should be pretty simple. I mean, they're not going through pit lane. They're starting in pit lane, but they go straight onto the track instead of going through the pit exit. But I mean, you have a minute and 50 seconds.
Right.
So I feel like you have enough time. I think that's more. It's a dangerous job, obviously, but I feel like as long as you're aware and you're watching everything, you should be fine. But yeah, I can see how that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, if there's a late release you weren't expecting, that was the issue. They thought all the bikes
Yeah,
were gone, and then a late one was like, oh shit, it came like
yeah,
super close to them, freaked them out. But yeah, you got to stay safe. And it reminds me, you know, if anybody ever crashes, they seem pissed off and they're not paying attention. What I've seen from corner working lately is they completely forget about what's happening on the racetrack. And as a track marshal, you have to always look at the racetrack. Even if you're pushing a bike or picking up something, you have to keep your eyes up because if another bike comes flying at you, you better be prepared. And remember Road Atlanta when the Aprilia let loose and
yeah. Hayden got hit from
he was
Toby.
walking away, not looking at the track, and he gets hit by another rider's body flying at him. I mean, they were both fine, but it could have been a bad incident.
Yeah, and I'm surprised because Hayden has a lot of experience in just racing, and he's had a lot of years, and it's in the moment. You're so taken away that you don't even know what happened. That
Yeah.
you're just like so dazed and you're like, oh my God, what just happened? How am I here? And you're like, whatever, I'll just walk away, and you're not expecting that. Also, it could be the fact that if you're going down, you don't think anyone else is going to make turn one.
Yeah.
So probably should be watching behind you.
And some I've learned, the corner workers are telling me, the other experienced veterans are like, just because there's a yellow flag doesn't mean no one else is going to crash. You know, that doesn't stop crashing. If it did, we'd put it up everywhere. You know,
Exactly.
sometimes it causes more incidents because now you're not necessarily paying attention to what's going on in front of you. You're like, you're looking around like, where's the incident?
Mhm.
Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, man, I just love the sport, trying to stay in it, and I like being at it. So I was putting together a schedule for this year, with all the different rounds I can hit, and there's like 45 different events I could possibly go to out of like 52 weeks, you know.
Mhm. Let's say.
So I don't know what I'm going to be doing exactly, but I'd like to start doing some MSF, the Motorcycle Safety Foundation coaching.
Okay.
So that's what I took when I first got my motorcycle license, like beginner riders, teaching them how to use a clutch and like in classroom sessions, stuff like that. I think it'd be something cool to put on your resume. And I mean, when you're teaching fundamentals, you learn yourself. So
Exactly.
um, I'm just trying to be in the motorsports industry and make money doing stuff I like rather than working a job I don't.
Exactly. Keep yourself in there and keep yourself pretty much like just keep going, refreshing your mind, and make sure that once you do come back to racing one day, you just aren't going to be rusty.
Yeah. So I was getting super excited about maybe trying to race again. And the other day I wrote like 7 pages, really quick, like out of my mind of all the things I could do. Like, what if I went to a dealership and tried to get a motorcycle? Because there's been other racers that have done this seemingly successfully. So here's my idea, and anybody can steal this. Let me know what you think, because I actually want to go door to door with a proposal in my hand and like talk
Mhm.
to dealerships. What if you said, I need a 2022 motorcycle, 600 class is what I'd be looking for. So 2 bikes, an A and a B bike, completely stock Kawasaki 636. I will take the bikes, strip it down to all the race or all the stock parts we don't need. We'll return those to you. And that would be what, like $4,000 a bike or so of all the stock parts, the body work, and the brake pads you don't need, and the rubber brake lines and all that stuff. So maybe say 4,000 per bike. That's $8,000 right there. That is discounted from the bike you just gave me, right? So you can use those parts for your showroom sales or part service. If you have repairs for bikes. And then, since I'm a authorized vendor of 34 motorsports brands, I get parts at cost. So I get rear sets and sprockets and chains and suits and boots and all that stuff. Um, so it would be a discount to me. We'd race with the bikes after, um, putting all the race parts on it, suspension, all that stuff. And then after the end of 2 years, we would sell the bikes, and those bikes with all the race parts is worth more than a stock bike. So we would really owe them $12,000 or so at the end of it, and we would probably make money selling both bikes, you know. So that's a way that we could repay the dealership after 2 years, and it would cost them no money, but they would have to put upfront 2 motorcycles. But after the end of 2 years, it's no cash for them.
Yeah. So growing up in a household, so my dad works for a dealership, and he's just very real about everything. So in my opinion, so the thing about dealerships is I've learned is that there's really nothing in it for them anymore. They used to, like, back when in 90s, early 2000s, when racing was very Suzuki was giving out huge, pretty much contingency. There was probably you could probably get bikes from dealerships, but now there's really nothing anymore. I mean, I can go to you can be the best rider in the world and go to a random dealership and say, "Oh, I'm this and this," and they're like, "Okay, where's our money?" It's crazy. I mean, even if you were to do something like that, it's just like they want profit. There's not enough, there's not enough stock. There's not enough, with all the COVID and everything, there's not enough storage and stuff flowing in for them to give up two things that, even like with my dad's shop, if they get brand new bikes in, they're already sold. They got a list of 40 people that already have a prepaid money for this bike. So it's kind of like a thing where it's like, if we were to give you two bikes like this, we would be missing out on this other, say, 24 grand that we could be getting from these two other people that are willing to pay, especially in this time. Maybe back then they could get something out of it, but now, because of how all this COVID pricing and all these COVID frenzy people, like, oh, we want a bike. Like, we had random people come into this dealership. Oh, I want that FS 450. You know, it's not street legal. I don't care. I want it.
Yeah.
It's like they just want to spend money. So it's like, it's a great idea for back in 90s, early 2000s, but for how everything is now, which sucks, it's like dealerships can't be losing out on it.
Sure, there's just a supply and demand issue. It sounds like they don't have enough stock.
Yeah, and everything's flowing in. Parts are on back order. They're already sold out. Some companies can't even keep up with production of just producing all this stuff and getting it out on time. There's stuff like we're missing out on parts from that should have been here 6 months ago, where they can't like make the stuff fast enough. It's crazy, because when COVID shut stuff down for 4 months, everything shut down. So all that stock that was built up from those 4 months sold out. So those 4 months of them not building anything is like, they have to pretty much it's going to take them years upon years upon years. Maybe they can't even catch up with it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We were talking about it. It's just like, you're never going to make up for what they lost over those 4 months.
And now, I mean, if you were able to give a new business, say 50 customers, for a dealership, that might be worth it for them. But you have to prove that you can actually bring them 50 sales or so, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like that, because you have to prove it. But on top of that, like, it depends on the dealership. It's just like, all right, cool, you just got us 50. They'll kind of take it as like, okay, cool, you just got us 50, and that's 50 more people that will spend money for us. That's about it. They'll take it, because they're not willing. A lot of dealerships aren't willing to give out huge sponsorships. I mean, luckily I've had a few dealerships that have been amazing to me and given me some great sponsorships and deals, and I'm so grateful for all of them. And luckily I've been able to get my way with them. And a lot of dealerships aren't willing to give out sponsorship like that anymore. It's crazy. It's hard, because you're trying to make racing, this really expensive sport, a little bit cheaper, and there's not really many things that you can do anymore to make it cheaper. Contingency is a little bit, but to win contingency, you have to spend so much money to make your bike competitive. So I have a class that I win. Last year I would win about $1,000 contingency a weekend. So 1,000 times 7, that's $7,000. Right? You just paid for a Ninja 400, which is 5. Let's just say $5,000. So you have $2,000 extra. Well, you're pretty much take $2,000 out of the cost of a 15 or 14 plus $1,000 of parts and building that you put into that bike. All right, cool. You spent $12,000 on that bike.
Yeah.
You saved 7, but you have to spend another 12.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a little bit of help, but you're never going to make anything out of it anymore, which it's unfortunate. I mean, I wish I could make a living out of this. I wish I could make a living out of the sport, but it's really hard.
They being Moto America, I wish I had the exact numbers in front of me, but they just increased the season entry purse for all classes. So if you become like a premier class rider, full season entry, it's like, I think for the super sport class, like $6,500. I think if you complete every practice and qualifying and race session, it's like $1,250 a weekend for just doing the event. And not even counting purse if you finish in, points paying position. So basically, if you enter and finish all the events of the season, they pay you like $6,000, aside from winnings or contingency money.
Yeah. So from what I know, for the Junior Cup, it was top 5 get paid from Cali. So fifth
If you
place
have a
got
bike
500.
within 5 years, is it?
2 years.
2 years?
Yep. So that's how they get you. You have to keep on buying a bike every 2 years. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if for a double, I don't know if they changed contingency, but Kawasaki would pay if you won both races during the weekend for Junior Cup, you would get $5,000, which is
Pretty
awesome.
good.
But
Yeah.
I mean, for cost, I mean, it's $1,200 for tires. We get 4 sets, so 8 tires. $1,200 for tires. You have to pay for gas. You got to pay for race fuel. You got to pay for. Everyone looks at the cost of a weekend as in like how much it costs at the track, but no one really looks at like with our gas prices. Dude, it's for us. It's our camper and trailer. We get 6 miles per gallon towing, and we have to triple swipe our card to fill up our camper. It's $170, $180 to fill it up, and then you do that depending on the rounds multiple times. So you don't really look at a lot of people don't look at the time and effort that is put into it, where you kind of have to like spend gas money to get there, have to pay for food. You got to take off the time to get there. So you're missing X amount of days of money being paid, depending on if your salary, maybe not, but still. But it's just to do the full Moto America series is huge. I mean, I know people that have spent 6 figures on a Junior Cup ride to race, and that's not covering them getting to the races. That's just their racing. So, I mean, if you got the money and you got the backing for it, that's great. That's amazing. Good for you, man. I'm jealous of you, but
Yeah.
Jealousy is an ugly trait, but I wear it very well when I see that. I mean, I'm grateful for everything I've been able to do, and hopefully I keep on getting to do it. And maybe down the road, I get a chance in Moto America for a full season. But at this moment in time where I'm at, with how money and everything's going, I won't be able to afford that. So maybe one day I can get something going.
I think it's a little bit about finding outside industry sponsors. Like the new one that came on is Mission Foods, and that's awesome. It's like a Mexican tortilla and chip company, and they make all sorts of different wraps. But they have like racing commercials about their tortillas. I'm like, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a big supporter of the baggers when they got onto it, and they're supporting the whole entire, I think, the Superbike class now.
Yeah. So
So
I've
it's
definitely
cool
bought some
seeing
of
those
their
guys
things
helping
since
out.
I've seen that. I didn't know about them before, and now we really do try to support the people who support the sport.
Exactly.
So, I actually I can't talk too long today. I got a lunch date with a friend. So we just hit our 1 hour mark. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity, and just like thank a few people that have always supported me. I mean, I thank my parents, obviously, and huge thanks to, I'll go through the list, but Motor Race, Stowe, all you for helping me with my tires, for sponsoring me from day one with Michelin, and I thank obviously all my sponsors that helped me throughout the last few years. Electech, Matt Lilly. We got Penguin Road Racing School. We got Woodcraft. There's Spears Racing, Frego, whole bunch of people. Thank you guys so much for everything.
Very good. Well, I'll get this edited and posted, and I'll talk to you real soon, man. Thanks for coming on.
Good, thank you. Peace.
Have a good one.
See ya.